Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a whole bunch of Nigerian headlines, all dated April 18th, 2025. We've also got a couple of interesting did you know facts thrown in.
Yeah, looking through these, it's quite a mix. Politics, economy, security stuff. It really shows how much is going on.
It absolutely does. It paints this picture of a really dynamic, complex situation across the country.
And that's what we want to do, right? Take these headlines, these snapshots, and try to connect the dots a bit, see what larger trends might be emerging.
Exactly. It can feel like just a flood of news otherwise. So our mission today is to sift through it, pull out what seems significant, and make sense of it all.
Make it a bit more digestible.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So where do we start? The political scene looks, well, pretty busy.
Agreed. Let's jump in there. First up, the presidency mentioned President Tinubu is working remotely, expected back after Easter.
Okay, seems straightforward enough. Or is there more to it?
Well, the fact it's announced, it makes you wonder about the context.
Yeah.
In the current climate, does that sort of announcement invite speculation?
Good point. It's never just the fact itself, is it? Then there's governors and the Christian Association, Canan, rallying support for victims of the Plateau killings.
Yes, that unified response is notable. It suggests solidarity, at least initially.
Does it point to a stronger sort of collective response mechanism starting to form? Or is it more symbolic?
It could be both. The real question is always follow-through, isn't it? Does this immediate collaboration lead to actual long-term solutions for the underlying issues there?
Right, sustainable solutions. Okay, moving to the legislature.
Yeah.
The House of Reps is summoning the CBN governor and the AGF. Something about bailout spending.
That's right. This is classic legislative oversight, holding the executive branch accountable for how public money is used.
So it means they have concerns. Or is it just procedural?
It usually indicates there are questions, yeah.
Mhm.
They want more transparency, justification for the spending. The outcome could be quite significant for, public trust.
Okay. And River State is back in the news. The reps rescheduled a briefing with the sole administrator.
Yes, and there's this related call for the Nigerian Bar Association, the NBA, to return, what was it, $300 million.
Wow. So the situation there is still complicated.
Very much so, it seems. Political appointments, legislative actions, financial angles involving professional groups. It's all tangled up. Rescheduling suggests things aren't resolved.
Right. Okay, shifting gears slightly. The judiciary. The NJC is probing 18 judges in Imo for alleged age falsification.
That's a significant move towards judicial integrity.
Age falsification, that sounds pretty serious. What's the potential impact?
Huge. If proven, it really damages public confidence, doesn't it? It raises big questions about ethics and accountability right at the top of the legal system.
Definitely. Then there's this denial. Police debunking reports linking the First Lady's convoy to a death in Ondo.
Yes, the challenge of misinformation.
It spreads so fast these days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How effective are these official denials, really?
It's tough. Speed and clarity help, but it also boils down to whether people trust the source issuing the denial. It's an ongoing battle.
And the presidency is defending the makeup of the Census Committee. A census seems logistical, but why is the committee always, like, a big deal?
Because the census itself is politically charged in Nigeria. It affects resource allocation, political representation, everything. So who sits on the committee is scrutinized heavily by, well, everyone. They want to ensure fairness.
Got it. That makes sense. Then fiscal federalism, the RMAFC, is backing financial autonomy for local governments. Can you break down fiscal federalism quickly?
Sure. It's basically about how money and financial responsibilities are shared between the federal, state, and local governments.
And the argument for local autonomy.
Proponents say it brings development closer to the people, makes spending more responsive to local needs.
But the downside?
Concerns about capacity, can they manage the funds properly, and the risk of corruption at that level. It's a constant debate.
Okay. Politics is definitely lively. We see Atiku saying PDP governors can't stop a coalition train, but then others are pledging loyalty to Tinubu, and there are defections to APC and Akedi.
Yeah, it shows the political map is still very much in flux, doesn't it? Lots of maneuvering, positioning, parties trying to build momentum or hold on to power.
It's a constant churn, and Shehu Sani compared nepotism under Buhari versus Tinubu. That's always a sensitive topic.
Very sensitive. When political figures make these comparisons, you have to consider their perspective, their affiliation. It's part of the political discourse, not necessarily, objective fact.
Understood. Treat it as a viewpoint. Now, this is interesting. Governor Daniel saying Ijebu and Remo are free to pursue state creation. State creation. That's a deep historical issue.
It is. These demands usually come from wanting more autonomy, fairer resource sharing, or promoting a specific identity. But the process itself is incredibly complex constitutionally, politically, economically.
Right, not something that happens easily. And finally, back to Rivers. The administrator is taking a hard line, while Pandey wants a political solution. Two different approaches.
Exactly. One emphasizes authority and order. The other emphasizes dialogue, negotiation, addressing the root political causes to find a lasting peace.
Okay, quite a tour of the political landscape. Shall we switch over to the economy and business side? Lots happening there, too.
Let's do it. A big one is the government planning to add 1,900 megawatts of solar power to the grid.
Especially given the complaints about epileptic electricity. Is 1900 milliW a game changer?
It's a substantial amount of renewable energy, definitely a positive step towards diversifying the mix. But fixing the grid's overall reliability, the transmission, distribution, that's a much bigger beast to tackle.
Right, it's one piece of the puzzle. On a smaller scale, but maybe significant locally, Minna Airport is getting direct flights to Lagos and Abuja again after 15 years.
That's good news for regional connectivity. Easier travel, could boost local business, tourism maybe. It shows how infrastructure improvements can ripple outwards.
True. In tech, Google's launching an AI accelerator for Africa. That sounds promising.
Very. Shows continued international interest and investment in African tech talent.
But then on the flip side, WhatsApp is cutting off older phones, affecting potentially millions of Nigerians.
And that highlights the digital divide, doesn't it? Tech moves forward, which is great for innovation, but it can leave people behind if they can't afford the latest devices or access reliable networks.
It's a real tension. Okay, oil market. A Turkish refiner is buying Nigerian crude. So, still a key export.
Absolutely. Oil revenue remains critical.
But then we have Akinwumi Adesina from the AFDB saying exporting raw materials keeps Africa poor. How do those two things sit together?
Adesina is making a crucial long-term point. While oil sales bring in cash now, sustainable development requires moving up the value chain processing materials locally, diversifying the economy, not just exporting raw resources. It's about building wealth, not just extracting it.
That makes a lot of sense. Interestingly, the Rebs are backing the development of natural medicine.
Yeah, through the NNMDA. This could be interesting. Potential for new industries using local biodiversity, maybe even more affordable healthcare options. Plus, it values indigenous knowledge.
Interesting angle. Okay, some macro numbers. Money supply up 3% to N1114.2 trillion. And the CBN is telling banks to tighten sanctions compliance. What exactly does that mean for banks?
It means they need stricter systems to make sure they're not accidentally doing business with people or companies under international or national sanctions. It's about protecting the integrity of the financial system, avoiding penalties, basically playing by the global financial rules.
Got it. And still on big money. The FG plans to clear in $2 trillion in debt owed to power generation companies, the GenCos, by December.
That's huge. That debt has been a massive problem, crippling the GenCos financially. Clearing it could theoretically allow them to invest more, operate better, and maybe, just maybe, improve power supply stability.
We can hope. A smaller initiative. Discounted airfare for traveling civil servants.
Yeah, seems like a move to cut government travel costs, maybe boost morale a bit in the public sector, a targeted benefit.
Okay, human capital.
Yeah.
PTDF is worried about brain drain, trained people leaving for the UK, US.
A persistent problem, losing skilled workers developed often at public expense.
But then NNPC Ltd. announces a plan to attract $30 billion in investment by 2027. How do those two trends coexist?
Well, the investment drive, if successful, could create high-value jobs and maybe lure some talent back or keep future talent home. But you still need to address why people are leaving: pay, conditions, opportunities. They're related but distinct challenges.
Right. A minister also said past governments just paid lip service to the power sector. Sounds like political positioning.
Often is. It frames the current government's efforts as more serious, more committed. But historical assessments are complex, you know? Past governments faced their own challenges, too. It's rarely black and white.
True. The SEC is cracking down on something called CBEX, promising consequences.
Yeah, sounds like action against a potentially dodgy investment scheme. Essential regulatory work to protect investors and maintain market confidence. You need a strong watchdog.
Definitely. And related to funding, students, NNs, are threatening protests over alleged diversion of student loan funds.
Oof, that's sensitive. It highlights just how crucial transparency and accountability are when you're talking about public funds, especially for education. Any hint of misuse can really spark anger.
Understandably. On a brighter note, Bat Foundation and Uniloran are giving grants to agripreneurs.
Good stuff. Supporting agriculture, especially entrepreneurship, is vital.
But then, uh-oh, an illegal quasi study center was uncovered, arrests made.
Yeah, that points to challenges in quality control and oversight in the education sector, doesn't it? Making sure qualifications are legitimate.
Right. Now, Dan Goat, S&P says their fuel is pricey even with lower crude costs.
Yeah, that raises questions about pricing, market dynamics, maybe refining costs or margins.
But at the same time, the Dango Foundation is giving out N16 billion in food support in Abuja and Kogi.
It shows the duality, right? A
Yeah.
major corporation navigating market realities while also engaging in significant philanthropy and social responsibility efforts.
Interesting contrast. And Nigerian breweries posted a huge profit surge. Good sign for that sector.
Could be. Suggests maybe consumer spending in that area is holding up, or maybe they've managed costs well. It's a positive signal for that part of the manufacturing industry.
And finally, on the economy side, NDPHC investing N500 billion in power transmission. Why is transmission so key?
Because you can generate all the power you want, but if you can't get it efficiently and reliably to homes and businesses, it doesn't help much. Transmission is often the bottleneck. Strengthening that network is critical.
Okay, that clarifies things. Let's move into the security and justice headlines now. The Plateau killings are still prominent, with the government probing alleged cattle poisoning and calling for calm.
A very tense situation. Finding the root cause, whether it's resource conflict, criminality, or, as alleged, poisoning, is step one. But building trust, dialogue, that's the long road to peace.
Indeed. Police clarifying no Boko Haram arrests in Lagos. That's important for reassurance there.
Yes, countering specific rumors or fears. But then the IGP is ordering disciplinary action against officers over a viral video.
Accountability in action.
Hopefully. It signals an attempt to address misconduct caught on camera, which is crucial for police legitimacy. Public pressure often plays a role there.
And we hear directly from someone affected by insecurity, Natasha urging police action after a raid on her home.
That brings it home, doesn't it? The personal impact. It underlines the urgency people feel about needing better security.
Absolutely. Now, contrasting views on counterterrorism. The Chief of Defense Staff says attacks won't weaken operations,
Projecting strength and resolve.
while the Air Force reports successful strikes in Borno.
Reporting tactical wins. So you get the official line of determination mixed with specific operational updates. Assessing the overall picture remains complex, though.
Right, on specific crimes. Arrests for a naval officer's abduction in Abuja, suspect remanded for murdering students in Kaduna. Tragic stuff.
Stark reminders of ongoing violent crime challenges.
And the Chidinma Ojukwu trial continues, her testimony reported.
Yeah.
High-profile cases like that get a lot of attention.
They do. They put the justice system under a spotlight, processing these serious crimes while upholding the rule of law.
Then, a gun battle in Katsina, police and bandits killed. More regional conflict.
Yes, unfortunately. And then some more unusual local incidents. Arrests in Anambra for exploiting sick people for alms.
And a very strange one in Kano involving a man and a goat.
It just shows the sheer range of issues law enforcement deals with, from organized violence to, well, very peculiar local crimes. It demands a lot from them.
No kidding. A positive story. Benue girls rescued from traffickers in Ivory Coast.
Excellent news. Highlights the importance of cross-border cooperation against trafficking networks.
And the police, again, debunking that First Lady Convo story in Ondo. Information management seems key.
Constantly battling false narratives, yes, it's a core function now.
We also see efforts at rehabilitation. 390 ex-Boko Haram members graduated from a de-radicalization program in Gombe.
That's a crucial part of the long-term strategy reintegration, though it's often controversial and complex.
And proactive security. NSCDC deployed for Easter in Abia. Standard procedure for holidays.
Yes, ensuring visibility and security during periods of increased travel and gatherings, plus a drug raid in Lagos by the task force.
So prevention, enforcement, rehabilitation, a multi-pronged approach.
That seems to be the idea, tackling security from different angles.
Okay, let's shift to society and culture. The boy who stood before Obi's convoy was released from prison in Lagos. That case got a lot of buzz.
It really did. Sparked debates about protest, youth rights, policing. Lots of underlying social currents came up.
The NBA defended moving its conference from Rivers to Enugu due to security. That shows real-world impact.
Absolutely. Security concerns affecting major professional events. On a lighter note, Nigeria named handball squads for zonal championships.
Nice. Sports always offer a bit of positive focus, don't they?
It can be a great unifier.
Then a Kano rep telling hunters to stop migrating south. That sounds pointed.
It touches on sensitive issues, resource competition, migration patterns, potential intergroup tensions. These things simmer.
Right. Delta State is committing to preserving cultural heritage. That's good to see.
Yes, maintaining history and identity. And speaking of interstate matters, the Osun and Oyo governors met about border tensions.
Dialogue is key there, presumably.
Definitely. Open communication, willingness to compromise. That's how you manage those inevitable friction points between neighbors.
In Andhra, the government says the innocent head office demolition wasn't personal, trying to manage the narrative on a controversial event.
Yes, providing the official rationale. Meanwhile, Ondo is looking at using pension funds for infrastructure.
Is that common or risky?
It happens, but it needs extreme care. You have to balance the need for development now with safeguarding people's retirement funds for the long term. The risk assessment has to be rigorous.
Makes sense. Positive news from Nasarawa. Thousands of rice farmers adopting climate-smart tech.
That's fantastic. Shows adaptation and forward thinking in agriculture, which is crucial with climate change.
And in Yobe, Hisbah and the World Bank held an interfaith dialogue for peaceful coexistence.
Very important work. Building bridges, fostering understanding between different communities is vital for social harmony, especially in diverse areas. Respect and communication are key.
But not everyone agrees on everything. Gani Adams and others rejecting Southwest Sharia panels.
Right, highlighting differing views on the role of religious law within the broader legal framework. These debates exist.
And in the Delta, Airia Mami wants a probe into the removal of its security communities related to deep-sea development, community rights versus big projects.
A classic development dilemma. Ensuring communities aren't harmed, are consulted, and benefit fairly from projects on their land is critical. Transparency and equity are paramount.
Indeed. The PRP paid tribute to Aminu Kano on his memorial, remembering historical figures.
Their legacies continue to influence political thought, and the First Lady mobilizing Ondo monarchs for food production.
A grassroots approach to food security.
Using traditional structures, it seems, and recognition for the NNPCL spokesperson, Femi Sanai.
Good PR in a vital sector. Finally, an ex-speaker in Osuna wants the governorship ticket. Politics is always local, too.
Always. Ambitions, regional dynamics, it's all part of the mix. So yeah, society and culture is this blend of tradition, modernity, conflict, cooperation.
It really is. Okay, just briefly, the global context mentions Nigeria reportedly exempted from potential Trump-era U.S. embassy closures in Africa.
Yeah, if true, that would underscore Nigeria's perceived importance, its strategic weight in the region from a U.S. perspective.
And the U.S. Supreme Court hearing a birthright citizenship case. How might that even remotely connect?
Well, major legal decisions in powerful countries, especially on things like citizenship and migration, can sometimes set precedents or influence international norms and policies down the line, which could eventually have ripple effects, even indirectly, for Nigerians abroad or migration policies globally.
Okay, interesting connection. So, wrapping this up, we've covered a huge amount of ground just from one day's headlines.
We really have. And you see the connections, don't you? Politics affects the economy, security impacts society, global events touch local realities. It's all interwoven.
Definitely. These aren't just isolated stories. They add up to this constantly evolving picture of Nigeria.
Hopefully this deep dive has helped bring some of that picture into clearer focus, showing the dynamics at play.
We hope so, too. It's about providing that foundation for deeper understanding.
Exactly, making sense of the complexity.
So let's leave our listeners with a final thought. Thinking about everything we've touched on: politics, the economy, security challenges, social shifts, tech advances. What single area, based on today's snapshot, raises the most compelling question for you personally about Nigeria's path forward? Something to mull over.
A good question to ponder.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.